expecting another baby. "What is it with my cousin and babies?" Jen had said, unable to hide her jealousy. She was missing so much here. She might have wanted a baby someday, but she'd never had any luck with men, unlike Tina. Maybe if she'd been born a redhead like her cousin. "Are you still blonde?" Shirley had told her that she'd gotten her hair cut short and gone blonde. "Do you have more fun?" "You're not missing anything. Trust me," her friend had said. They'd run out of things to say even before their time on the phone was up. Jen finished gluing the last of the articles about Buckhorn's birthday into her scrapbook. The attendant took the scissors and paste, probably afraid of what she'd do with them if left to her own devices. She reread the celebration article before the attendant remembered to come back to take her scrapbook for safekeeping. Jen figured Buckhorn's birthday party would draw a lot of people she knew with the carnival and the dance. There were some men she wouldn't mind seeing again. She thought of Marshal Leroy Baggins, the man who'd arrested her for the murders. Good-looking, but a little uptight. Not really her type. Still, she wouldn't mind seeing him again as long as he wasn't thinking he was going to haul her back here. No, once she escaped from this place, she wouldn't be returning, one way or the other. As she pretended to read the article yet again, she watched the comings and goings in the large communal room. She'd been so well behaved that they let her hang out in the main lounge without an attendant standing over her. She'd been watching the way things worked around here for months as she'd planned her escape. Until now, she hadn't had a definite plan. But, thanks to her Aunt Vi, she had a date and a destination. The 125th birthday celebration in Buckhorn was the perfect time to make her break and return home. She smiled as she thought of how people in her hometown would react if they knew that she'd be attending without guards or a straitjacket. There would be so much going on, she figured they wouldn't see her, unless she wanted them to. The attendant glanced in her direction, then came back to take her scrapbook. A moment later, a guard stuck his head in and motioned that it was time to return to her cell. In the shatterproof mirror on the wall, she caught her reflection as she rose and headed for the door. She'd changed during her time in here, thanks to the drugs they'd been giving her and the hours she'd had for reflection. At least, that's what she let the doctor think. Dr. Moss liked the idea that he had been doing something to rehabilitate her. "You're so young," he'd said. "This isn't the end of your story. We just need to get to the source of why you've done the things you have. Maybe I'm just evil." He'd put on his serious face. "No, that's not true. Something triggered this behavior. I suspect it's something in your past. Once we know what that was—" He'd smiled, and she'd smiled back at him, thinking he had no idea what he was talking about. "You're doing so well. So, we'll keep digging, yes?" She'd nodded her agreement, even as she thought the man was a quack. But she liked making him happy because then he gave her more freedom. With the Buckhorn celebration coming up, Jen thought of her image she'd seen reflected in the mirror. The hair that she'd sawed off with the dull children's scissors when she'd first arrived here had grown out. But it wouldn't hurt to change her appearance even more after she left here. She wanted to look her best when she went home. It was all she could do not to break into a little dance. Look out, Buckhorn. Surprise! I'm coming home. Chapter 1. It was late by the time Marshal Leroy Baggins reached Buckhorn's new fairgrounds. Parking his patrol SUV in the lot, he stepped out and stood for a moment, enjoying the quiet darkness. The air smelled of pine and the nearby creek, and campfires. The scents marked the end of summer and the end to the busiest time of year for a lawman in Montana. Things would have been winding down, if not for Buckhorn's 125th birthday celebration. He cursed softly under his breath and tried to enjoy this moment of peace and quiet before the festivities began tomorrow. The mountains all around town rose to meet the clouds that moved restlessly past on the breeze.